So what do you think it is? What difference does a woman leader make? Why should it be important that IWMF really work to bring more women into the top rungs of the business?
Because of the notion of mentorship. It is absolutely, as we were discussing earlier, you cannot teach the way to navigate a workplace in any kind of school, in any kind of book, in any kind of course. It's not possible. You need someone to show you the way, to lead by example, to include you, to give you the space to fail and then help you understand why you failed and how to be better. And for women to do that for women, for me to have these incredibly strong, smart, powerful, wonderful, compassionate women as role models showed me a path that I was able to follow, and now I hope that I can work with women throughout, who are a generation behind me to do the same.
Well, it's funny because the early mornings program, where it set out the global pattern and then had a group of women talking about it, identified role models as being a critical element. But on the other side, so let's take the person who thinks this is all a lot of bunk and IWMF, who needs to do this, and what the heck are all these women making all these things? There's lots of women out there. Is there a difference in women leaders? I mean, can they make a difference in the newsroom or in the management?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first of all, women need female mentors in executive positions, number one. You cannot, I've certainly there's been a lot of wonderful men in my professional life who have taught me so much, but it is the women who have really helped me understand how to bring my true self to the workplace without having tried to adapt to a different kind of model that I've seen throughout my career in male executives. So then it becomes a numbers game. The more women rise to levels of positions of leadership, the more they can mentor other women. It becomes exponential, and the impact will then grow, and there will be more women in positions of leadership. But there is a difference in style, and it's it's always dangerous to make a blanket generalization. But I do see women being more collaborative, less concerned about showing that they are powerful, and more interested in nurturing talent to the greater good of whatever the organization is. Again, that's a gross generalization, but generally speaking, I think that is the case.
Is there a business imperative to have women in leadership?
Absolutely. This is, there's the jury is returned. The jury is not out. The jury has returned with a verdict that collaborative leadership is a more effective, we can see this throughout all businesses, not just in media companies, brings out the best in people and bring the best talent to the fore, to make people feel like they are a part, to give their most, and it's led to the success of particularly in media companies that are the most successful now. That kind of collaboration versus the command and control style of the old days, those days are gone.
And at least it's my opinion, but I don't firm numbers about the difference women can make sometimes on a bottom line. Successful companies have a third of their executives be women. But my sense is, because the business is in such a period of change, the industry, the news industry, communications, that the kind of collaborative leadership model is a really useful thing to have at this moment of change.
I think the collaborative model during a moment of change is essential, and so is a comfort level with uncertainty. And I think women are uniquely comfortable with ambiguity. I think perhaps more comfortable with ambiguity, with uncertainty, with not feeling like they have to provide all of the answers to the team, and that it will, and if you don't do that, it will be perceived as weakness. And I think that is particularly conducive to this very uncertain time that we're in, when the media industry is in flux.
So let's talk about the costs of taking on leadership like this, because you've had these big businesses. The time, it's got to be a drain, and there's been, sometimes implications when things don't go the way you want. What are the costs for taking on these huge leadership jobs?
It comes down to the time-old. So much has been written about this, and so many solutions have been put forth, but I'm actually of the view that there really is no solution, that you cannot, this notion of having it all doesn't exist. You give up something, you make sacrifices. And the sacrifice could be to focus on your career and not have children, or in my case, I have wonderful children, but I have a husband who has made the sacrifice to be the primary parent for my children. I have lost moments with my children that I won't get back. And so you make different choices, and the choice is very individual and very personal to each woman. There's no right or wrong, but you cannot have it all.
I learned that lesson too. The other question I would say is, without going into the details because there are too many, but there's been 6 months of tough things that you've had to deal with as a leader of an institution and change. Did you find at any time during that being the woman executive made a difference, maybe had a harder kind of pressure on you, that a man in that wouldn't have had as much criticism or as much pressure on them? Was there? You were the first real woman to run this organization?
Right. Yes, I was the first woman CEO of NPR, and we went through a series of 4 or 5 extremely difficult months, and it was very stressful, and there was a tremendous amount of pressure on me. I would not go so far as to say I felt like there was more pressure on me or more criticism or more attention because I was a woman. That may be the case. I didn't feel it. However, I did feel a responsibility to stay strong. Perhaps subconsciously, really only upon reflection, I realized because I was a woman, I did not want to fall into any of the sort of caricatures of what a woman under pressure might be like. And so perhaps that did have an influence on me in wanting to stay very steady, to stay very calm, and really, deal with my stress when no one else is around.
and if the consequences, you don't think that there was no double standard either in terms of...
I really don't feel like there was a double standard. I have read in the media some people speculating that perhaps some of the reason I was under such scrutiny was because I was a woman, and perhaps it's naive on my part. I really don't feel that is the case.
IWMF, we've got our own kind of mission. Do you think we have a role to play in sort of moving the global agenda for women leadership in the media?
Absolutely. One of the key issues, we talked a little bit earlier about mentorship and how important it is for women who have achieved a level of success to mentor women who are coming up the ranks. That's sort of the vertical model, but there's also the horizontal model of mentorship and information sharing, which women are so good at and women so need. We need to spend time with each other, just sort of sharing our frustrations, sharing our stresses, sharing solutions, and also just talking about our experiences, because I think many women, maybe men do too, but I think many women often when they're going through something feel like they're the only one that's ever gone through it before. And so bringing together women from all over the globe and sharing stories, just in the sessions that I was in, hearing them go, really? It's the same thing in our place. You're doing that? We're not doing that. We should think about it. It's actually very thrilling. Women as diverse in the group that I was in from Iceland and China and Canada and what have you. It's a very important thing for women to come together in this way.
So after you take a breath, you take on executive leadership once again?
I'm not done. I certainly am plan to stay in journalism. I feel too passionate about it, and so yes, I will be back in some position at some point in the not too distant future.